Hello and welcome back to the Earth and Animal Spirit Tarot reading for the Collective Dream. My name is Desiree. This reading is for the month of April. Happy spring equinox, happy new year, happy all the things. Last month's reading was pretty intense. If any of you guys that are watching now were watching last month's, leave me a comment and let me know how any of that affected you last month, because we had a ton of messages come through from the earth and animal energies. I'm interested to see which ones are going to be coming back in that have already been consistent throughout this year so far. So we're going to go ahead and get started with shuffling these cards up while I sort of explain to you the process and what it is that I do here. However, I will put a timestamp at the bottom of the exact time that the reading starts so that you can jump to that if you don't have time to watch the shuffling process. However, I do like to do this part on screen so that I have your energy here with me in the cards as I'm shuffling it. All right, so to explain sort of what this is, the best way that I've ever heard it described was by the shamans, who say that we are all born into our individual dream. That is your life journey, the way that you see and perceive the world. That is considered your personal dream. But we are also born into what is called a collective dream, and that is collective consciousness that we share together. Now, a lot of times we could be creating subconsciously within the collective, which I believe is a big thing that's been taking place recently. And thankfully we're all starting to wake up to that because of just everything that's going on right now with the solar flares that are really helping us to activate these dead energetic parts within our being. Different brainwave activity is taking place now, and I believe that there's a huge shift happening as we speak. This reading in particular that I do each and every month is to bring together the collective consciousness, see what sort of earth and animal energies are here to support us through that month, and then as we receive these messages, I post about them throughout the rest of the month on my social media and now in my Patreon. So if you were following me on social this past month, then you already know that I have been putting out blog articles for each of the sort of more in-depth messages from these. However, starting this month, those messages are going to be strictly exclusive for those in my Patreon, which, by the way, you can receive this reading 3 days in advance if you join that Patreon. So check the bottom in the description box and there will be more details down there about the Patreon if it's something you're interested in joining. I definitely would love to have you over there. So we have 2 different animal decks, we have 2 different tarot decks, we have an earth element deck, our ancestors, and the moon. And all of these are going to have specific messages for us as we shift into this new month of April. Technically, it is beginning of the new year. Today, as I'm filming this, it is the day of the new moon in Aries, which, if you remember from the last reading, the Aries new moon popped up in the reading, just like previous months. The exact moon of that month popped up in the reading. Tonight I'll be putting out my sound medicine that I do for the moon energies. So if you're not following us already on social media, definitely do so. It's going to be at Mojave and Wolf. Okay, you guys, we are shuffled. And now I'm going to go ahead and start pulling out the cards that we need. I'll save the 2 tarot decks for after, and I'll just go in line from right to left. All right, ancestors, what messages do we need to hear as a collective consciousness? What messages for the month of April does the collective consciousness need to help guide us to our highest possible timeline? Feeling this one here. All right, we're gonna try to stick to 1 card this time, right? We'll see what the cards have to say, but we'll try to stick to 1. Earth energies, what messages do we need to hear for the month of April as a collective conscious? Ooh. Animal energies, what messages do we need to hear as a collective consciousness? Who would like to speak? I feel like I'm coming out. Moon energy, what messages do we need to hear as a collective consciousness for the month of April? And what I love about this reading too is that, you know, the more that we watch it, the more that you and I share this message and put it out there, and the more people that actually watch it and start to sort of abide by these guides and their messages, the more we're actually able to shift that collective consciousness, which I think is a very beautiful thing. I think that that's what we were always created to do in the first place, was to always work together as a community in order to make shifts in the world that we always see done on an energetic level first, and then we see it manifest in the physical. So moon energy for the month of April. Thank you. And the last animal deck, any sort of animal messages from this deck that we need to hear from the animal realm for the month of April. Feeling this one. Okay. All right, you guys. So these are going to be our guide messages. Set these here. And now we're going to do our tarot deck. We're going to try to shoot for 3 cards from each of these decks. Okay. Tarot messages for the collective consciousness for the month of April. What messages do we need to hear from you? What do we need to abide by this month? What should be on the forefront of our consciousness? What have we been going through that you're seeking to give us guidance in? I feel this one coming out. This one. And that one. Thank you. All right, and last deck. Here we go. Any messages for the collective consciousness that we need to hear moving forward? 1. Yeah. 2. And, 3. Actually, I feel this one's coming out too, so we're going to take 4. Okie dokie, you guys. We officially have all of our cards. I'm going to go ahead and flip these over for you. We will get them looking nice and pretty, and then we will get right into the reading this month. Okay, so first we have the 4 of Vessels. That's the 4 of Cups. We have the 9 of Coins. We have the Judgment card. And lastly, we have the Apprentice of Wands, which is the Page of Wands. I'm going to set those in the middle. And from the Wildwood Tarot, we have the Woodward, 3 of Bows with Fulfillment, and Balance, of course. All right, let's take a look at our Earth and Animal, Moon, and Ancestor messages. Of course, we have the Elk coming in. It says, stand tall and maintain your dignity no matter what, and others will treat you with the respect that you deserve. I freaking love that. Mutable Moon, with nothing is yet set in stone. Happy to hear that. Beautiful. We have the Owl back with more messages. I'll move everything in just a second. We have the Samphire with Adventure. All right, we're going to set the Adventure card there, and then the Ancestor, Smudging Ceremony. Oh my gosh, how exciting. Okay, I'm going to adjust these and move it all and everything, and I'll be right back. But let's go ahead and call out all of the Earth and Animal energies that are here to support us through the month of April. First and foremost, we have the Owl, obviously, right? We have the Elk. We have here in this card the Lynx. And if you look at the top left-hand corner, that is the Eagle again, you guys. That's the Eagle, showing that he's still here watching over us in this process that we're going through. Again, we have the Snake coming up in this card with Balance, the 2 snakes, which we see also being mirrored as well in the 3 of Bows card on her garment there. 2 snakes. As far as Earth energies, we've got the Samphire, water yet again, clearly. And I see water coming in a few different cards here this month. We've got it here, as well as this card, which I'll explain in a minute, as well as in the smudging card, which I'll explain in a minute, and the Four of Vessels. So, let's see if there's any other earth elements. We also have the daisy coming in here as well. And with the smudging, smudging can be done with any sort of herbs, but I feel like I'm meant to call out sage this month as well. All right, let's get into this message. So right off the bat, I'm seeing here with the Four Vessels that a lot of us are still pretty exhausted, and I don't blame you. We've had a pretty crazy beginning of the official or unofficial new year, I should say. January and February have been pretty wild so far, but this card, the Four Vessels, specifically talks about feeling exhausted and knowing that there is a fresh new energy coming in for you, which that is being mirrored across the board. By the way, with the owl card here, this specific owl card talks about the fact that there is a boon or a treasure coming your way. It is on the way, it is being presented to you, and so you have to just be aware of that. Again, obviously, owls represent intuition, so our intuition is going to be very strong and important for us during this month of April as we navigate through these interesting waters that we're working through right now, right, as a collective. And the collective, by the way, is not just you listening to this message. This is talking about the overall actual collective energy of all of us, the oneness of our collective energy. It's just the ones that are watching my video, you guys are the ones who kind of have a lot of power in your hands, because you have the potential of shifting that energy by working with these energies as they come in for us. With the Four Vessels, with that sort of exhaustion coming in, we're being really encouraged right now to find that balance that we need. Balancing across the board. And this message is not a surprise to me, because I feel that's the big message overall that's been coming in, is finding that balance between masculine and feminine, finding that balance between light and dark, between work and play, between rest and work, right? Rest and exuding energy, finding that balance there. But with the Apprentice of Wands, this is essentially the Page of Wands, so it's very fresh new energy that we see coming in, but it's basically telling us that the sights are set on what we want, right? We have the ability to create anything out of nothing. We really do have that ability within us. We see that being mirrored here with the egg showing up in the Judgment card next to the Apprentice of Wands. So this is basically like the primordial egg. It's about the very beginning, the untapped potential of all creativity that exists, and what can we create from that egg. Well, we're seeing here with this telescope essentially that we have our sights set on what it is that we're looking for. So I see that as an overall message as the collective. We're beginning to wake up to these things that we know need to be changed, that we know are not the way they should be, for us to be able to adapt and live accordingly in a balanced world, so to speak, right? But the Woodward card, this one is essentially the Strength card in a traditional deck, and I really like how they shifted it a bit here, because in the traditional deck, Strength is represented by a woman who's basically holding the mouth of a lion open. But in this deck, they chose to translate it as this man, right? The Woodward. He's a very calm woodland man that basically oversees nature, and he only steps in when he really has to. So I really love that, once again, this balanced message is being sort of mirrored here, that instead of that strong feminine energy, which we obviously see and we know exists, but to not forget that your masculine is also divine, and each of us have a divine feminine and divine masculine within us, and that is what is needed to be balanced at all times, to put your focus and attention towards balancing that masculine and that feminine energy. So in essence, the Woodward is a perfect balance of that masculine and feminine energy. We see that as well with the Lynx being sort of docile, laying at his side. Any sort of cat or feline energy tends to be a very feminine energy, but we see that it's sort of being subdued here. It's calm. It's keeping a watchful eye, all of it being watched under the watchful higher perspective of the eagle, of course. But there is a balance here between the masculine and feminine, and I see that coming in very strongly. Now, over here with the Samphire, with adventure, I believe that we're being called to look out for new beginnings, again with the Apprentice of Wands, new beginnings that have to do with moving in that energy of the water, which water is very feminine. It's a very divine feminine energy there. Samphire is a plant that grows next to the water line. So it's another word for it is sea beans, I believe. This plant grows next to the water. It basically gains all of its nutrients from salt water, essentially. And so I'm seeing there that within this balance that we're finding within the masculine and feminine, allow the masculine part of you to be the part that is keeping that watchful eye on everything that's going on in the world, right? Everything that we see sort of unfolding before our eyes. Allow that to be that divine masculine energy that's keeping watch on that. However, let the divine feminine energy be the one that's seeking out the new, seeking out the adventure. Because as we see here with the mutable moon, nothing is yet set in stone. So we still have a lot of growing to do, you guys. We still have a lot of things that we must approach from a new angle, from a new perspective, and set new standards. It's not going to happen overnight. As much as we would love to wake up one day and see that everything has changed and all of a sudden everything is working out for the people, it's just not going to work out like that. It never does. Everything takes transition. We see that through nature across the board. So because nothing is yet set in stone, this message is a twofold message. The first one is just remember that just because you're wanting it to come forth doesn't mean it's going to. There is action that you're going to have to take to get there. There is action, like the Nine of Coins suggests here. There is action that's going to have to take place to get us there. However, please let this be an encouragement as well, that when you see the outside world and it becomes very discouraging, remember that nothing is yet set in stone. Just because it looks like World War III is about to erupt, nothing is yet set in stone. Just because it looks like we're having train derailments and all these things taking place across the United States that are looking very intimidating for people who pay close attention to that stuff, just remember, nothing is yet set in stone. And with that being in direct conjunction with the elk, which says to stand tall and maintain your dignity no matter what, others will treat you with the respect that you deserve. That is a direct message, I believe, in standing firm and understanding that nothing is yet set in stone. Just because everyone around you is talking about the fact that this, and this, and this, and this might be happening, and might be happening soon, or might already be happening, it doesn't mean you have to allow your energy to get drenched by their emotions, their water of emotions. You get to stand tall in the elk energy that's here to support you this month. Stand tall and maintain your own dignity, knowing that you are building your next adventure. You are seeking it out. You are building it by using your intuition and tapping into your own water source, your own ability to look at through the divine feminine of flowing with the times, flowing with the energy coming in and saying, hey, you might think that it's the end of the world, but I think it's the beginning of a new one. And you will be treated with the respect you deserve the more that you're able to stand in your own power. And I'm so grateful that the elk is here to help us do that this month, because I really think that as things start to ramp up more and more, the more that we are going to see more people kind of getting tossed by those waves. But they don't have to be. You can be the plant at the shoreline. You can be the Samphire that sits at the edge of the shore and feels the waves maybe knocking against you, but you're immovable. You're there for the ride, for the adventure, because you know that no matter what, you're being nourished. And that's a beautiful message to take home. I just see a lot of mirrors in this reading this month, you guys. Like even here with the Judgment, we have the telescope, and then we've got the trumpet, the horn, the call. And what I'm seeing there is that there's a big correlation here that we're needing to deal with between looking at your inner self, looking at your inner waves, right? I mean, look at this direct correlation. Look at the inner waves that are coming in for you. Look at them under a telescope and decide, is this wave trying to move me in this direction or in the other direction? Because nothing is yet set in stone. This moon is very mutable. Now, the mutable moon basically rules the signs of Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces. And when the moon is in one of those signs, you know that there's going to be more flexibility in a situation. Now, I know that we have coming up for this month, for the month of April, new moon is going to be in Aries as well. This one is talking, I think, more or less to those specific astrological signs. So if you are a sun, moon, or rising in Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, or Pisces, then this is going to be a very important lesson for you to grasp hold of this month specifically. Now, with this, I wanted to get back to this, sorry, the cards pull me everywhere, right? But so we see us looking through this telescope of your emotional climate, in your internal emotional climate, and where are the waves taking you. And then after you find, right, you find your elk that's having you stand tall and maintain the dignity of whatever it is that you find within this adventure. That's when you start saying, you know, guys, not only am I not going to listen to the doom and gloom that everyone keeps reporting, although it is important to keep an eye on it, right? As the divine masculine here does. He only steps in when it's absolutely necessary. And I see that with his foot pointing at the judgment card, because the feet represent action, the feet represent movement. And with it being pointed directly at this judgment card, I'm seeing that the divine feminine is being called right now for the month of April to step up and really begin to claim verbally, claim out loud, talk to your friends, your family, even on your own social media. Start claiming the things that you want to see brought about in this new world. And don't talk about it like, wouldn't that be nice? Talk about it like it's already on its way, because it really truly is, once you start to believe that. And what's even more important is that as more of the collective begins to believe that, the more it's going to reveal itself even sooner, because we are shifting the energetic frequencies of this earth by our thoughts, by our actions, by the things that we think, the things that we say, and the things that we do. We are shifting, we are manifesting what we really want in this world. So if you don't want to see this world turn to this, shadow apocalyptic side that everyone might be thinking it is, then it's time to step up, you guys. It's time to find that balance, because in that balance you will have the fulfillment necessary. The adventure will fulfill you in this journey as we move forward. With the smudging ceremony here, we're being called to really do a cleanse, which it doesn't surprise me as we have approached spring now. They call it spring cleaning. This is something that is very spiritual as well as physical. So you may already know when you do a spring cleaning how great it feels to do a spring cleaning in your home. Well, energetically, the same thing is taking place for you. As you clean the outside, the inside is getting cleansed as well. As within, so without, as above, so below. These are natural laws of the universe. So as you do actions in the outer world, like doing a spring cleansing of your home, maybe doing a detox of your body, things like that through the month of April, you're doing that energetically in your spirit as well. All right, so now for the 9 of coins, we're being called to remember that self-sufficiency is the key to our freedom. So again, this goes back to the action, right? Taking action. As you find your balance, you're taking action in the things that you do have control over in your life. So if you're worried, if you personally are worried about the bank system collapsing or something like that, what can you do in your personal life to make yourself feel more self-sufficient? Could that be taking part of your money out and keeping it in your home somewhere safe in case for whatever reason? If it's about waking up to the fact that they've been poisoning our foods and putting toxins in our food and our water, what can you do to be more self-sustainable in that aspect? Could you start growing your own food? Could you be really specific with a telescope, right, of where your water source is coming from, where your food is coming from? And one small step can make such a huge difference, you guys. As we see the grapes being represented here as well, that really represents sort of this abundance mentality, that you can turn grapes into wine, but you can turn grapes into grape juice as well. You can replant the seeds of the grapes and create more grapes. So we see an abundance happening here. But also with the butterflies, it's a very big transformation that's taking place right now within all of us. I really believe that. Now, in this deck in particular, when the wands show up, it always looks like a bundled a sage bundle to me, essentially, every time that the wands pop up here. So that's the reason why, because of the smudging ceremony card that's come out, I really see that sage is coming back as well this month for us to really help us in this new energy. Now, I forgot to pull out the higher self deck. So every month I also pull a couple of tangible things that we can be doing this month to assist in this journey. From our collective higher selves, they've all agreed that these are the things that we should be focusing on. So I'm gonna pull, there we go. Goodness. Okay, so we actually have a few tangible things that we're supposed to be paying attention to this month. So let's take a look at what these are. I really effing love this card. Build a history. Don't allow the opinions. Let me see if I have room over here. This one's gonna go here. Don't allow the opinions of everyone who's stuck in a frequency of fear change what you truly believe about the future. It is time for you to build your own future here. We see that across the board with the elk, the owl, with the woodward. All right, we've got feed your senses. Another really beautiful message there before I keep pulling these. Your senses are your sight, your taste, your touch, your smell, and your hearing, right? And then you've got your sixth sense, which is your intuition. So don't forget to feed your intuition as well. And I believe that that is directly in correlation here with the owl, which I didn't even think of that until just now after putting it down. But the owl represents a huge energy of intuition. So I actually did a series on my social media a few months back about not sabotaging your intuition. So if you're into that, you can actually go back into my TikTok. There's a playlist on my TikTok, and it's also kind of scattered throughout my Instagram. It's a mini series about how to not sabotage your intuition. So if you're really feeling called to this message specifically, go back and check out those videos. But if there's even more videos that you recommend that I do for us this month in regards to the intuition message here, let me know. Leave me a comment and I will definitely tap more into that this month across social media. All right. Again, the Switch Media card has come out. This came out last month as well, or it might have been February. But this is talking specifically about pay attention to the things that you are, once again, allowing yourself to watch on TV. If it's bringing your energetic frequency down, making you feel like you have no control, you do. So it's necessary to switch that media over. Don't watch those news outlets anymore that are only pumping fear into your system, basically. Find certain creators online. In fact, TikTok, again, is a wonderful place for learning the news firsthand from people who are on the ground, who are there, who know what's going on. And you're not hearing it through a third-party perspective with an agenda, right? Because we know that about the news outlets is that they are funded. They're all owned by the same 6 major corporations that all have their own narrative that they wish for you to hear. But that doesn't mean it's true. That doesn't mean that that's what's actually going on. So just keep that in mind. We have read aloud. Now this one I believe is specifically talking about the cleansing process here that we are seeing, that we are being asked to do with the smudge. Well, let me see if I can zoom out just a bit. There we go. With the smudging and being here next to the smudging ceremony, I believe that this has to do specifically about the fact that as you're doing your cleanse, as you're cleansing your home, cleansing your energy, cleansing your spirit, cleansing your body, doing all these cleanses, which again was a message that popped up last month as well. So you're still being directed to do that this month. Add to your cleansing regimen, right? Add reading aloud certain mantras to yourself. A good thing to do is work with the moon energy as you are doing that. I know tonight I'll be doing that myself with this new moon in Aries that we have. There are certain mantras that I'm speaking over my life, over me and my daughter's lives, because there are places that I wish to see us grow and become more abundant in as we grow. So those are things I will be speaking out loud, or these sort of prayers that I'm going to be writing down to myself. I will be speaking them out loud, because what you speak out loud creates not just a way for you to kind of process that information. It literally creates a vibration on the earth when you speak it out. So please keep that in mind. When you speak things, you are speaking them into existence, because we are created in the image of God, and God spoke things into existence. That means we have the ability to speak them into existence. Now that goes both ways, right? So remember as well with the balance, to make sure you're not speaking those negative things into existence. You can own them by knowing they exist, but you don't have to own them by claiming them over your own life. Does that make sense to you? If it doesn't, let me know as well down below. But I think that's pretty clear. The last message here from us is to set limits. And I think that's a great overall message too, because that goes along with balance. In order for things to be in balance, that doesn't mean accepting everything. That means setting limits and saying, I will accept this, and I will accept just the right amount of that to balance it out. So make sure you're setting limits for yourself within your home, within your bedtime, within the foods that you're eating, all of that, right? It goes across the board. Within your spiritual journey, you're setting limits within the maybe some of the creators that you've been following. You're going to start paying more attention to the things that they're saying with that telescope to say, okay, does this align with me in my journey right now? Does my journey align with everything this creator or this spiritual person is saying? And if it doesn't, set that limit for yourself that says, I'm not going to accept this part of what they said. I'll accept this part and I'll take that home with me, but the rest of this I'm going to toss. And I think it's important when you're on a spiritual journey to know that you do have the power to do that. Every person, I believe, every religion even, we were all given a very small piece of a mirror that broke, that was once being held by God in the very beginning of time. And this mirror reflected God back to himself. And as it broke and shattered into all these different pieces, all of us who are spiritual and awake, we received those pieces. Even religions at their core, the innocence of them at their core, we received bits and pieces of the truth of who God is and what this higher being is here for and what our purpose is on this earth and all these things. And if we can learn to listen to one another, that's when things will begin to change. Because when we set the wrong limits, right, and we say, well, you're a Muslim, so I don't agree with you, or you're a Buddhist, so I don't agree with you, or you're a Christian, so I don't agree with anything you have to say, that's wrong, you guys. You're doing yourself a disservice if you do that, because each and every one of us have something valuable to bring to the table. And if we can learn in a community energy here of how to work with one another, we create harmony. You see the harmony that's being brought out here in the Nine of Coins? There's harmony being brought out with us. So overall, this is the beautiful message that I see for the month of April. I'm going to make sure to share a bit deeper into these messages still across social media in April. However, April is the month that I am beginning to do my deeper dive messages strictly and exclusively for those who have joined my Patreon. So if you were following me on social media last month and you saw that I was pumping out a whole lot of different extra messages from the earth and animal spirit energies, just know that most of those are now only exclusive for the Patreon. So if you're interested in that concept of keeping up to date with these specific energies and letting this sort of be your guide map through your life as you move through month to month, the Patreon is going to be an amazing place for you to come check out. You can find that information down in the description box. I'll leave that down there for you. And lastly, I believe, once again, using your sage and your smudging tools, if you don't have any, I really recommend you go out and get some for the month of April and continuing on the rest of your life, basically, because it's so important. Smudging is a very important ceremony that you can do for yourself daily that will help to cleanse the energy in your home, in yourself, in your spirit. And as you do that more often, you'll realize that you will find that balance. That balance will start to level out. Think of energy like a scale. So you've got the negative energy and the positive energy. If you have a lot of things going on in your life, a lot of negative things, right? Like a lot of mentalities, a lot of fear around what could be happening in the world, it starts to get heavy on the darker energy, right? And then the more that you think about it, the darker and heavier it goes. And the more you sit in fear, the heavier and darker it goes. And before you realize it, you're living down here in this energy. And this frequency down here of fear is not where we're meant to live. So it's about finding that balance, and you only find the balance by doing some things in the positive energy that'll just help to bring it back into balance, like smudging your home. And that brings this one back up a little bit, right? Smudging your home, cleaning your home, doing a spring cleaning, that adjusts it a little more. Realizing and remembering that nothing is set in stone, that adjusts it even more. Beginning to trust your intuition and feed your senses, that adjusts it even more, right? So just keep that in mind. I'm so excited for this message. I really believe that, it's all aligning perfectly. And if you've been following this along with me since the beginning of the unofficial new year, since January, you know that these messages are completely divine. Be sure you follow us at Mojave and Wolf. We have a Facebook, an Instagram, a TikTok, and there's also a private Facebook group called The Village. Please use that as your home base.